Welcome to the Spectrum Connection, a podcast hosted by Jess
and Alyce. As two mums of neurodivergent kids, we are here to share our experiences, insights, and advice with other parents navigating this unique journey.
Join us as we discuss everything from daily challenges to breakthrough moments, all with a focus on understanding and celebrating neurodivergence.
We've just been chatting for a little while and thought, let's just turn that into an episode because why not? It's talking about socializing as autistic adults. Yeah, in the hope, I think, of sharing for people who maybe have autistic kids and are not an autistic adult themselves or haven't had that experience to kind of understand what it's like. Because I think there's, all these misconceptions or ideas, worries, I guess, about kids, like they don't know how to socialize, like what their future's going to be like. And Jess and I were just speaking about how we don't even have that down pat and we're fine. Like, our life's good. We don't need to know the incident. We can reflect and laugh at ourselves and it's all right.
We socialize enough. I feel like we get that need met in our own way. And I don't think I need any more of that need.
Okay. I probably need a bit less.
We were talking about how people put socialization as such a high priority. And I feel like it's more neurotypical people that do put this as a priority. And I honestly just want parents to know, like, you don't have to worry unless your child explicitly expresses that they want to socialize more. I honestly don't think you should worry. And I think it goes back to like those conversations you have with the doctor where they're like, oh, like you should put them in daycare so they socialize more. Honestly, I think that was probably something that we shouldn't have done so early.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you think about the idea that neurotypical people like talking for the sake of talking, like they get something from that, I think that's probably where it comes from. But like, I
My
don't.
assessor said to me, she's like, if there was a group of people sitting next to you or nearby you that you didn't know and they were talking about something, you don't know what they're talking about, would you want to join their conversation? And I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. No way. No way would I want to talk. And I'm like, they could be talking about the weather. Like, that's so boring. And I'm like, and also approaching, no. And she's like, neurotypical people have the want to join that conversation no matter what the topic is. I'm like,
So foreign
like,
to me,
great.
but just,
What? No way.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't believe her. And I went around to all the people around me and I was like, do you think this? And I actually like lined up with who they were. And I was like, what is going on? My mind was trying to like make sense of this.
Yeah. Even in conversation, like if I'm already in a conversation and the conversation's about random stuff, like nothing comes into my brain of what to say.
Yeah.
Like it's just blank. I remember people saying to me like, oh, you don't speak very much. And I'm just like, well, I've got nothing of value to add to this conversation. That's why I'm not like, if there's something I feel of value that I can contribute, I will contribute. And I do that, especially if I know you. But
they're often talking about nonsense anyway. Like I feel like they don't talk about anything, but they're talking. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. What a waste of energy, right? But then maybe it feels like a waste of energy for us because that small talk, like actually coming up with an idea of something to say to add value, like it doesn't come naturally. Maybe that's why I don't know. We'll never know because we'll never get to experience what it's like to be a neurotypical person in a random conversation with someone that just met about the weather. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think when I think of my socializing, like I very much prefer one-on-one with people or like small groups. I don't like big groups because I find that super complicated. I like to be with one person, I think, because I'm like watching if they're okay or interested in what I'm talking about. And like, I think it gets a lot when there's a lot of people. And I also have found over the years that I've been drawn more to neurodivergent people. And so when you're socializing with neurodivergent people, as a neurodivergent person, it's so much easier. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
And they find that that has been a common link is like obviously neurotypical people can socialize very well with neurotypical people and vice versa. So I think if you're a parent and you're listening to this, it it might be an idea to get your kids engaged with other neurodivergent kids and maybe some people that have the same special interests, so they have things to talk about, because that's what they love about socializing, is talking about what they love. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how
Yeah.
Alyce and I met.
Yeah, exactly. And I even think like for some people that, socializing in my idea is really just that sense of belonging and connection with like, knowing that you're not alone, you're not on your own, you've got, you belong in the world somewhere. So I think for some people, like for myself even, I don't need connection with people ongoing, just as long as I know that I'm connected. So like I know that, oh, there is other people out there like me. Like I know there's other neurodivergent people out there that
Mhm.
experience the same things I do. That's okay. I don't have to have a conversation with them constantly to feel okay and connected. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think what also comes into play is the fact that we're parents. So I often wonder what I would be like if I didn't have my kids currently and I
Yeah.
knew that I was autistic. So I think I would be very much probably having meetups with people who have similar like interests to mine, but it wouldn't be very often. But I think when you're a parent, you've got so much going on. That's already
Yeah.
overwhelming in itself. So it's like another thing of socializing that almost feels like it's like you should do it, but you don't want
Yeah.
to. And it sounds really bad, me but like honestly, I think it's so much for us to put
Yeah.
ourselves out there and do that on top of everything else we have on our plates, that it's often cutting into time that we would prefer to be like like what is it? Decompressing at home. Like I do that at
Yeah.
nighttime. Like I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to be in my own bubble. And when socializing dips into that time, that's when I notice I'm struggling. So yeah, it's interesting, like that parent.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed with myself being, not working the 9 to 5 like I was when I first had kids, that I can do the socialization a little bit better than what I could have when I was working. And obviously it's because, I'm not seeing people, I'm only seeing my kids pretty much throughout the week. So that when I do, I kind of built up that social battery for when I do go out. But like last week, I worked a 2-day workshop and then I did a dinner, was it the night after? And I was exhausted come Friday. Like, like I had a lot of driving too, but I don't mind driving. I think it was just the, talking to people I didn't know and all that socializing stuff, even though enjoyed it in the moment. It just takes so much out of you to
Yeah.
sustain it. Yeah.
I often also think that I like the idea of it more than I actually
Yeah.
like doing it. And that sounds
Doing
really
it.
bad
Yeah.
again. I think when you're thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to like go out to dinner with my friends. Like that would be really nice. But when you get to it, you're like, this is so not what I had in my mind. And
Yeah.
especially if it's with not neurotypical people.
Yeah.
I always say all the time that when I'm engaging with neurodivergent people, I have more of a social battery. I still don't have what other people, I guess, do, but it's more. But it's interesting how I have kind of moved my socializing into my phone, into my messaging people. I think
Yeah.
a lot of neurodivergent people go online to connect with people because it's a place where you can be in your own home and being your own bubble, and you can turn it off if you need to and like pick it back up. It's very
Yeah.
regulated by you, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I find it, I feel more myself when I'm online than what I do in person with people. And I felt like that, like, you know, since online became about, because it wasn't around in, primary school years. It wasn't until like high school kind of thing that the internet came about and all that kind of stuff. But I remember, going to school and being like, obviously having challenges with that whole social dynamic, but then getting on MSN Messenger. Anyone remembers that?
Yes.
Getting on MSN Messenger, just feeling so like I could talk to anyone about anything. And I felt like they understood me because I don't know, I had more space, I guess, to think about what I was going to say. And I just always felt more myself. I guess that's
Yeah.
probably how I met my husband, because I met him on MSN Messenger. So I often wonder, really? Yeah, I did. Yeah. Through a friend, he friend was on, I was, near his friend on MSN Messenger, and then he jumped on there and started talking to me, and that's how we met. And then I
Wow.
found out that he knew my cousins and stuff. So it was kind of like this, and then we met in person. But I always think I don't even know if I would be married if it wasn't for online.
Yeah, that's so cute. And you used to like put
I met him when I was like 18. Yeah.
like a little status, and you used to put music, like a music song in your. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was good.
I can still hear the little notifications.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And yeah, I do think that and I always say this, even when I'm working, I'm like, I can't have like meetings or conversations with people where we're talking about what we're doing, because my mind just goes to scramble. Like it just like, I can't convey what I'm actually wanting to convey. And so if I write it down and I do it and I show you it, that's sort of easier. But
Yeah.
having that processing time as well, I always say to Jordan, like, when we're getting a bit into a disagreement, it's better that we go to text message and then talk there, because we sort through it better and we have time to process what we're actually thinking, and not just like,
Yeah, we have the same experience.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
we
think,
can sort out a disagreement through text, but then not in
yeah,
person. It just doesn't work.
no,
It just doesn't work.
it just
Yeah.
turns into a screaming match.
Mate.
I shouldn't say it's always a screaming match, but yeah.
Yeah,
Emotions
it just
are
gets
high.
heated. And it just, no one's listening to each other. It's just like
No.
what I'm trying to communicate is completely different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I do that.
I have found that I can communicate things and they don't get received very well. I don't know how, and I'm still working that out. Obviously, I've only been diagnosed for a few months, so I'm just like trying to work out how, when I say things, I'm saying them as I say them. Like I'm not
Yeah.
meaning something else, and people take them in other ways. And I often go back to them and I'm like, what did I actually say to you? And they'll repeat it. And then they'll be like, yeah, but I took that as da la la. And I'm like, but I didn't say that. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
so-
it's that non-verbal communication part that comes into play there, because I don't know, from my experience, I've been pulled up on my tone, like the way I say things. And I'm like, I'm not meaning anything by that. That's just the way it comes out. And I think my face says a lot more than what I'm actually trying to say.
Oh, yeah. I've
Like either I think,
being angry.
either my face is telling the world that I'm not happy, that, what's that expression? Oh, I can't even remember now. But resting bitch face, that
Oh,
one. I think I have that. People think I'm judgmental and but I'm not. I'm just sitting there. Like I can't
yeah.
just sit there with a smile on my face all the time. Like, I don't know. I don't get that
Yeah.
part. But yeah, I think because I've had, people come up to me and go, "Oh, are you okay?" Like, you look, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Life on the inside, I'm having a good time here." Like, I don't know what the issue is, but to the outside world, I'm telling everyone that I hate to be here. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that, and I totally get that, but I think I masked to a point, like, very well, and it's very automatic for me now, like, I can't not do it. But, yeah, I often get told when I'm in, like, heated moments, they're like, or just a discussion, they're like, "Why are you getting angry?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm just talking to you, and we're discussing something." And I'm like, "There's no anger." Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Confusing.
And I've always been pulled up to on the way I say things, because I'm just, I guess, comes across blunt. Like, I just saying it the way, like, I don't know, just
Mhm.
I don't sit and think about it and analyze it and on how to say it. I don't know. It just comes
It's
out and then
some
I reflect back later and
Yeah.
go, oh, I can kind of get why someone might have interpreted it that way, but there was no
Yeah.
intent there, like no intent to upset anyone. It just,
Yeah, and I think that is a reflection on what their previous experiences are of that. Like, I guess someone else said that to them in a different way. I don't know. I get confused, and then I'm like, why are we even having an argument about this? Because I was just telling you this, and you took it
yeah,
a different way. So that's a you.
problem. It's like, well, that's the thing. Like, it needs to come with intent. Like, if someone
Yeah,
thinks that you're angry with them, but you're not actually angry with them, well, like,
I'll say I'm
yeah,
angry. I'll say I'm angry.
yeah,
Like,
like, yeah.
just take my words for what they are, and they don't.
Yes,
No.
yeah. And I can't lie. I just can't make stuff up. I
Mm.
just, even those little white lies or the things that people, that it's more kind to, make up that little thing to make people. I struggle with that. And I think even if I say the words that I need to say, my face tells different that story because it's so hard. I just,
Yeah, usually I just stop talking if I know that I need to
yeah,
lie in some situation. I don't know. I I get that when people start talking about someone like people will start talking to me asking me like, "Oh, do you think I've lost weight?" And I honestly just like don't want to answer that question because I know either way something I could say is wrong and I don't want to like
wrong. Yeah.
impact on their body image or anything. So I'm just like, oh, like I don't really know. I'm the person like,
Yeah.
and I just
Yeah.
go over this way. I'm just gonna. But we asked, so we have a group chat on Instagram, and it's called Neurodivergent Adults, and it's a great group. If anyone wants to join, let me know.
Yeah.
It's just super relatable, and you just feel like you just feel like anything that anyone says, you're like, this is like a safe space.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it's okay
asked,
to be, sorry, what I absolutely love about it, okay to be so goddamn random in that message. Like, we are all talking about completely different things at the same time and no one bats an eyelid. That's what I love about it. Like, you can just find something that you relate to and just chuck it in there and you don't have to worry about, oh, this doesn't relate to the conversation that we were having 5 minutes ago. Like, no one cares. Okay.
yeah, and you don't have that like I have to ask about them. So, when
Yes.
working with
Yes.
neurotypical people, I have this thing in my head. I'm like, you need to like every so often you need to ask them about how they feel about this and whatever.
Yeah.
When we post in this chat, it's like everyone shares their stories about how it relates to them. And I
Yeah.
love that because it's like I often feel like that is something not received well by neurotypical people. Like they're like, "Oh, why are you making this about you?" And I'm like, "No, I was just like relating because I understand it." That's what
Yeah.
I love about the chat. But anyway, I asked them about this topic. I was like, "How do you guys socialize?" So I thought that I'd share a little bit of that. So one person said that they socialize 95% by text or messenger, which is what we were talking about. 5% they go out with a friend, one on one during doing a quiet preferred activity. And I think that's so
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
sounds perfect
Yes.
and very similar to what I do. Yeah, she said that she orders groceries, clothes, and household items online too, so she doesn't have to go into the stores. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's my
it's a lot.
experience too.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
I even love when you can do delivery, like when I go away for workshops, I just go back to the room and I just order Uber Eats because I can't get that where I live, but I just order Uber Eats and then I can put it in the description to leave it at the door. And I
Yeah,
don't have to answer it. Don't have to look at anyone to get my food. It just gets dumped there and then take a photo and they leave. And that's amazing.
yeah.
Like,
Sometimes they don't listen to that though. Like,
no, I
that
just yell out,
experience.
"Leave the door, please." They're probably thinking, what is like, there's a serial killer in there or something, just trying to hide, like, can't even answer the door to accept her pay. You know,
Yeah. Nope, just neurodivergent over here.
yeah, sitting in the complete darkness with no TV, nothing on, and then just, yeah,
just don't want to see you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Someone said that when they were younger, they consistently needed interactions with people. They were super outgoing, hated being alone and quiet. And she said she feels like this is more her ADHD side. Now that she's older, she loves that she doesn't have to talk to order food, can use self-service checkout or online. And she said, I'm also a chameleon and change who I am dependent on who I'm with. I'm different with each side of my family and my friends. Yeah, I have a few that I'm fully myself around. I find that too. Like, I've someone asked me the other day, like, what type of animal would you relate yourself to? I was like, yeah, a chameleon, definitely. Like, I would adjust to every single environment I'm in. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be fake. Like, I hate being fake, but honestly, it's very automatic now and I can't control it to a certain point.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, but
Mhm.
I don't feel like I've ever had that. I feel
Okay.
like I've always been the weird one in the room, and I've been okay with that. Yeah, but like always, yeah, I feel like that, the alien, like I would just describe it as like an alien because I don't know how else, like, you just like, yeah, just like an alien in the room of like people. And yeah, I've never, I don't know, I just accepted that early on, I think. And I just know that I'm a thing, but I am very quiet. Like I probably, I
Mhm.
mask in the sense that if I'm in a room of people I don't know, I just sit in the corner and like people probably wouldn't even know that I was there
Yeah,
if
I
they
go
tried
quiet
me or
too.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think it's important to note that the going quietness, like I often like not sure if I'm going nonverbal and like not being able to control it, or if I'm just going quiet because like I'm socially anxious and can't like don't have anything to contribute.
Yeah.
But I often do go very quiet and people are like, why is she talking?
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous as well. I'm like, oh, maybe I should be talking more because people are noticing that I'm not talking. And it's just like this ongoing cycle. So that's why I
Yeah.
find socializing so exhausting, is because I have these extra steps that I've put in place all my life to try and fit in and seem okay. But I'm definitely peeling back those layers at the moment and trying to not do that as much and just say how I feel and know that people aren't always going to receive that well. And that's okay. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't mesh with them. Yeah, it's interesting how much I've sort of layered back in my life nowadays. Whereas I used to like force myself to go out and force myself to meet people in person. And now I'm like, hey, can we like just FaceTime or can we text? Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're a parent out there listening and you're worried about your child's social interactions, maybe trying some kind of alternative methods online or asking them, how would you like to socialize? That could be a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. And I think there's this like misconception like, oh, they only socialize on gaming with random people like on the game. And that's like frowned upon. Like you shouldn't spend all your time sitting in your bedroom online socializing. You should get out more and see people and, all those kind of ideas. And maybe that's true for some kids or, neurotypical kids and things like, and that the idea of, gaming addiction and all that gets thrown around. But in my experience, it's not that. It's, you know, like I said, the being able to feel like you're yourself online. And so I think if that's the only way that they socialize and they're happy with that, there's nothing wrong. Like you don't have to force anything because they're still socializing. Like they're still building those skills that everyone's so worried about, having conversations, asking questions, and it's on a topic of interest. It's on the game. Like
Mhm.
who cares? Who cares? They feel connected and it helps their well-being. That's what socialization is about. So
Yeah, and you don't want to force them to do anything that's going to make them like become even more so like overstimulated. Like I think a lot of parents are like, "Oh, you should do this and let's do this and let's organize this." And like just think also about your kid if they're in school, how long of a day that is interacting with people and seeing people and being perceived. It's exhausting. So if they don't want to do anything
Yeah.
after school, they've already done enough. Like that's way more
Yeah.
than any like I just think about school in that way of the constant seeing people and being
Yeah.
asked questions. And so I think having an outside social interaction just for the sake of boosting their skills, they get a lot of it from school.
Cool. Yeah.
And if they don't want to do any more, then that's
Yeah. And a lot
mm,
not by choice. I just think once you reach an adult, you have so many opportunities and options. Like you can say no to things and you can choose a job that, aligns better with what you like to do. If you don't like to look at people, like you could get a computer job or something and not have to speak to anyone. Like you can pick and choose. But when they're kids, it's just, it's
I work
just
from
at
home.
school. Yeah, with it. Yeah. I was talking to you before we jumped on. Like there's parents, I think, worry about their kids' futures in terms of jobs and things if they don't have social skills. Like how are they going to be able to work in a workplace? But like 2025, you can kind of make a career out of anything. Like look at
Yeah.
people on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
adults playing with toys on YouTube making millions right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that because I saw this video once and they were like, oh, he was talking about how a lot of creators are neurodivergent and how interesting that is. And I'm like, yeah, that is so interesting. Like, and he had said it's because neurodivergent people are interesting and like not boring. But I
Yeah.
was like more thinking about how, yeah, people can make a career in their own home, on their own terms. I mean, there's so many other jobs. You don't have to be online posting yourself. There's so many
Yeah.
other jobs you can do online nowadays, and I don't think it's an issue unless you see a huge decrease in their health or whatever, and they're not actually seeing the sunlight. Like obviously, sunlight is good, but it may not mean that they have to go to a place to do that. Like go for a walk or yeah. I think that socializing online is enough for me personally, and sometimes I'll venture out. Sometimes because I have that urge, but then I'm like, why am I doing I think it's because of the kids, honestly. It's just overwhelming to go out with the kids and everything happening all at once. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, there's groups out there too of neurodivergent people who get together based on special interest. And I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many opportunities and different avenues to take. It doesn't have to look a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the best thing is just asking them. And if you can't ask them, then don't force them to do anything they don't want to do.
Yeah.
I can definitely see with Jacob, he's non speaking, but he will tell me when he doesn't want to be in a place. So I don't think that them being non speaking is an excuse to
So-
override their autonomy on that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys all socialize or like to socialize? I think we
Yeah.
socialize sometimes when we don't want to. So, I guess, how do you like to socialize? You can go over to
Yeah.
our Instagram and comment that there. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
Outro.
Bye.